possible, I'd like to bring the Manny Pacquiao to gold. I don't think there will be a problem for that. As it's very, very hard. But everyone can that. Because by the time
That's the opening bell for Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. Mabuhay Pilipinas and welcome world. I'm Bill Velasco.
And I'm Ryan Sangalia.
We want to talk about what the future holds for one Charlie Suarez, the 2016 Olympian. Won again last Saturday night, Philippine time. He is now 9-0, and the plan is for him to go overseas, quite possibly the United States, and chase a world title. Now, Ryan, given that Charlie's already 33 years old, has not fought outside the country, and so we really can't tell how much better he can get. What is your diagnosis?
My feeling is that at 33, he is the fighter that he is, and he's got to get busy. He's had some injury issues in the past. He's seen the light in terms of, at the end of the tunnel, and he needs to get moving. Beating an undefeated fighter in a 10-round fight is a good step in the right direction. It shows that he has some ambition, that, he's not just someone who will just beat up on local type of fighters. But I think he does have to go abroad. He has to get outside of that comfort zone that he's been in. And that requires some investment, getting the right promotional ties. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is him being able to go out there and make things happen for him. So I think he does need to get out of the country. I think he needs to start working towards getting on American television, because you could be however ranked, and you can beat all the guys in the Philippines 100 times. But unless you're fighting on TV in the United States, no one's really noticing you. No, you're not going to get those opportunities, because, at the end of the day, it's all about business, and he's got to make the business work for him as well.
Now, the main question here, of course, is how much he can still grow further as a boxer. He's essentially starting from scratch once he goes to another pond. So the question there is, of course, is time still going to allow, considering he's already 33? Just 9-0. Of course, there are some boxers who were like 15, 16-0 and have become world champions. But realistically speaking, it's still a long ways to go for Charlie.
I mean, yeah, I would say so. Because what he did in the amateurs was really good for a Filipino fighter. But we're talking about fighting at the next level. I'm looking at him. I don't see an explosiveness that can match something what Oscar Valdez or Shakur Stevenson have. He hasn't been particularly dynamic. Maybe he can level up when he fights at a higher level, but that's still something that has to be seen. Like, he on paper, he has all of the credentials that you would want. He doesn't particularly pass the eye test. That's sort of the issue with him right now. You don't look at him and see someone's going to beat Shakur Stevenson or beat Oscar Valdez. But we'll see, and I would like to see. I'm curious to see what happens when he goes to the next level, when he starts sparring with fighters outside of the Philippines, and is just getting exposed at a higher level.
You've seen it time and time again. Boxers from Asia, boxers from outside the United States, trying to crack the market there. How long would it take for that process to happen? I mean, of course, for example, we want to compare Manny Pacquiao and Nonito Donaire, but their paths were also different. When Manny Pacquiao went to the US, he'd already been a champion. In Charlie's case, he's been an amateur for the longest time, not even Cuban, and yet he's pretty much starting all over again.
Yeah, I think that for him, it's just about getting the right ties, the right affiliations. If he can get his foot in the door with somebody who has a foot in the door, then that process moves a lot quicker. If he goes over there as an independent, an independently managed fighter who doesn't really have any connections, and he's waiting around the gym for someone to notice him, he's gonna be waiting for a while. So I think it would be wise for him to ensure that he has the right people around him, someone who can get him in the door. Because when you're looking at the MP promotions fighters, they've essentially been handled by PBC because of that relationship that Sean Gibbons has with that promotional company. Or you have someone who can get in with Top Rank, or someone who can get in with, so if you can get those deals, great. If it makes things move a lot quicker.
And now for our Eastern Communications Fearless Fighter of the Day. And of course, we did not mention him on Monday, but last Saturday, Carl James Martin, the Wonder Boy from Ifugao, registered his 18th straight win, 15 wins by knockout, and is now the Philippine Super Bantamweight champion. And apparently there is some international interest in acquiring his services. But of course, those who advise him are saying that it is better to take it nice and slow and probably go around the rest of Asia first before trying to fight some big name Mexicans or American fighters. He is 18-0, has fought primarily in the Philippines, has been an Asian junior champion, and is ranked number 14 by the IBF. That is Carl James Martin. He is our Eastern Communications Fearless Fighter of the Day. Beat digitizing your business to the punch with Microsoft 365, a cloud-based solutions bundle that allows digital collaboration, secure file sharing, and more among your team members to ensure business productivity and continuity, whether working on-site or remotely. You may contact Eastern Communications through 5300-7000 or visit their website, eastern.com.ph, for more information about the service. That's our Eastern Communications Fearless Fighter of the Day. This is something that a lot of people did not know, but apparently surfaced after the fight. And Rafael Lopez has what is known as pneumomediastinum. For those of you who, like me, don't really know any 4 or 5 syllable words, it's an air pocket in your chest cavity in between the lungs. Generally speaking, it's not dangerous unless it's exacerbated by other conditions or physical trauma, like being in a boxing ring. And this came out afterwards that he was actually in danger of possibly dying in case this caused one of his lungs to collapse. And I'm sure, Ryan, knowing the people who handle him, this must have been devastating to them.
Yes, this is something that came out after the fight, and it was sort of a footnote to everything else that was going on, because we saw. I was ringside for the fight in New York, and it's hard to tell with Lopez, because Lopez is someone who's had to overcome some things in his life. He is asthmatic. That's why he moved to Arkansas. He says he had a battle with COVID. That was one of the reasons for the fight being postponed. And he's just gone through a hard fight. So, yeah, no, this was another thing on top of that. And, the doctors were saying that they believe that the air pocket was caused potentially by a tear in the esophagus. So he's very lucky to get out of that fight, still alive and his health intact. Every boxer who gets out of the ring with their health should really feel blessed, because it's a dangerous sport that they're involved in. But yeah, though, that it does sort of put into new light what had happened in that fight, because Lopez, from the first opening bell, he was going out there looking for a knockout. So yeah, he had his pedal to the metal the whole time.
Yeah, and in some cases, or generally speaking, the body just simply reabsorbs that air. In some cases, worst case scenario, they have to actually stick a pipe into your chest to let the air leak out. Like, for example, if somebody who choked, then you have to make a hole in his trachea, something similar to that. But in this case, considering he's physically very strong, He's in great shape. And like you said, he overcame asthma, and sports is always the best way to do that. Generally, it's swimming, but it's a lot of endurance also in getting your cardiovascular strength up. In this case, though, do you think that he's going to recover faster than the regular Joe on the street?
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. He's an athlete that always helps. But what I think that this does show is that for him, there is a sense of mortality there. And that's always tough for a boxer, for any athlete to, especially someone in the prime of their youth, to acknowledge and to be faced with. So yeah, I think he has something to figure out there, like in terms of making sure that he is in good health before he gets back in the ring. No one ever wants to. Everyone wants to believe that they're invincible, and until they're confronted with contrary evidence, they tend to believe that. So here's some contrary evidence, and I think that Teofimo needs to just ensure that his health is in order before he gets back in the ring. I know that he's probably very hungry to prove himself again. He was a champion who defeated Lomachenko, and then just as shockingly, he was beaten by George Kambosos. I think making 135 pounds or continuing to make 135 is really difficult for him in his body. 140 pounds has a lot of talent there, and there are some great fights to be made. Against like someone like Taylor, or even he can even fight guys like Regis Prograis and Ramirez. There's some good fights to be made there. So hopefully he can get that all in order and get right back in the ring.
All right. Lastly, Ryan, considering that this is somebody who's not used to losing, and it's coupled with a potentially life-threatening disease, that plays with your mind a little bit. And you mentioned the sense of mortality. Of course, as a young man who's in his physical prime, that's kind of jarring. But to combine the two, he must be feeling very vulnerable right now.
Yeah, no, and that's an issue. I mean, like you see that with boxers when they get their when they suffer an eye injury, right? Even if medically speaking, the eye is safe. You can see. They will think about that. That will be in the back of their mind. So sometimes that happens to fighters. Their veneer of invulnerability is cracked, and it's hard for them to get back to who and what they were. So it's interesting to see what happens with Teofimo. I think Lopez has a lot of things to consider. His health, for one, whom he's going to be training with. I think there's a big push for him to get someone who can handle that kind of pressure and give him sound advice on how to go about doing some of the things that he has to do to win. And also just, repairing his relationship with Top Rank. That was, a real tough situation heading into the fight. There was a lot of talk about, some schisms there. So, yeah, I think that Teofimo has a lot to think about, and, he's got the holidays to work on that.
And that's the final bell for this episode of Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. I'm Bill Velasco.
And I'm Ryan Sangalia. We're on Facebook Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. and on YouTube right after. So like, follow, share, and subscribe now.
Nancy Casiano and Ryan Sangalia will work the fights for you tomorrow. So catch them on the next Round by Round. All boxing, all Filipino, all the time. See you.